In this edition of Southern Newsweek, because chocolate is seriously big business, there's no bigger story than Cadbury's proposed closure in 2018. Why Prime Minister Bill English and Aussie PM Malcolm Turnbull are in Queenstown. And we find out how one museum plans to use tens of thousands of dollars of poker machine proceeds. Kia ora, I'm Holly Buchanan. Parent company Mondelez is to close Dunedin's Cadbury factory following a shock announcement recently. The Dunedin institution and tourist attraction will close in 2018. Area Vice President for Australia, New Zealand and Japan, Amanda Bansfield, says as many as 362 jobs will be cut.
It's one of the biggest redundancy announcements in Dunedin's recent history.
We have really looked at every possibility and we haven't been able to find a way forward.
No other option but to close. That's the reaction from Cadbury's parent company, Mondelez International. I'm Rosella Bone. The Dunedin Cadbury factory is shut today in wake of revelations the factory may close as early as 2018. If the proposal revealed today goes ahead, as many as 362 people may be affected. The proposal is to outsource the production to Australian sites which have more capacity. Although the company hasn't decided which sites will take on the workload, they say the factory is financially unviable. The mood at Cadbury today is one of shock and disbelief.
The factory's going to close.
Oh, what's that?
So, yeah.
Oh.
So are you going to come and have a coffee here today?
Yeah.
I wanted to taste the difference of the Cadbury chocolate, feeling that you've got different pastures and things here, that the milk would be different, so I thought the taste of the chocolate would be different. So I have to buy some in the shop now. Let's go across the countdown.
You came to visit it today?
Yes.
And you weren't able to get in?
No, and we leave tomorrow.
MPs on both sides of Parliament shared their reactions.
Well, look, I'm heartily pissed off, to be honest. I know how hard both the staff and the local management team have worked to continue to make the Cadbury factory viable, and for that to be unsuccessful is just a devastating blow for them.
We weren't in a position to fight for it to stay in Dunedin, but the explanation that's been given to us are the two imperatives that are driving this. The first is distance from markets. So 70% of Cadbury's production out of Dunedin goes offshore. Mostly to Australia, and of the other 30%, almost all of that goes to the North Island.
I would hope that Mr Woodhouse and the current government would be able to outline their plan for transition for these workers, how they imagine retraining will take place, what supports they will put in place.
The company called workers to a meeting this morning to announce the news.
I would say that the mood of the all-employee meeting was sad and sombre. Obviously news like this is always a shock when it happens, but it's probably fair to say it wasn't a total surprise.
Banfield says the challenges have been long-standing.
They actually relate to broader manufacturing, I guess, as well as just us. So to that extent, it has been challenging.
Banfield says Cadbury World attracts more than 100,000 visitors a year and will remain open. The first phase of redundancies will take place in 2017, with approximately 100 people remaining with the business until early 2018. Rosella Bone, The South Today.
Labor leader Andrew Little made an appearance outside Cadbury this week to speak with members of the E2 union. He was addressing questions about the future of the site and what Labor would do to improve the lives of the 362 workers if the proposed closure of the factory goes ahead next year.
Dunedin MPs Claire Curran and David Clark met Labor leader Andrew Little this morning to discuss the future of the Cadbury factory. I'm Rosella Bone, here outside Cadbury Dunedin, where E2 union members have been meeting with Labor leader Andrew Little to discuss the future fate of the factory. Little suggested the actions of Cadbury owner Mondelez were the equivalent of union busting.
When they are engaging with the union, but it is classic global corporate behaviour. They've spent a year putting the plan together. They then want the union to have sort of 10 days to respond. That's pretty stupid stuff from a mega global corporate. But that's it, you just tell them to pull their heads in and get real.
One union member says the move to close the factory is devastating.
There's single income earners here, there's families, there's husbands and wives that work here. I mean, where are they going to get this sort of income elsewhere? It's a real big question, you know. That's why we've got to try and keep the company here if we can.
Others meeting Mr Little had concerns about the wider ramifications for Dunedin's socio-economic well-being.
I was working for the night shelter, and I just want to make sure that people are homed, kept in jobs, and I'm just a person on the street.
Little says Labor has plans to help those out of work.
We're in opposition, so we don't have any levers to pull except to put moral pressure on Cadbury's to do the right thing for this workforce and for Dunedin. They have to do the right thing. They're not doing this because this is unprofitable, they're doing this because they are greedy and want more.
Union members say they are still hoping the closure of the factory can be avoided. Mondelez announced last week it would close the Dunedin factory and relocate operations to Australia. It is not yet known what Mondelez intends to do with the site. Roselle LeBone, The South Today.
The Prime Ministers of New Zealand and Australia met for talks in Queenstown recently. The announcement that Dunedin will be losing Cadbury chocolate-making jobs to Australia was not a subject raised by the media during the formal press conference. Afterwards, New Zealand Prime Minister Bill English told The South Today he commiserated with the workers.
Australian Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull and New Zealand Prime Minister Bill English reaffirmed the strong bonds between the two countries while addressing the media at Queenstown's Hilton Hotel. But the 6 questions allowed did not touch on the loss to Dunedin's 362 jobs, work to be done from next year in Australia. However, afterwards, Mr English had this to say.
Well, it's pretty tough for those people. I mean, there's a lot of long-term employees in Cadbury. It's been such a feature of the Dunedin landscape. We're pretty sad to see it happen. What we do know there, though, is that the city's in pretty good shape. Its unemployment's quite low. Its economic outlook's pretty good. So I'd imagine with the kind of support that that both central and local government can give to those 300 people, we would expect a good proportion of them will be able to get some sort of work if that's what they want to do.
In the formal press conference, Mr English and Mr Turnbull both expressed their support for free trade agreements and hoped the Trans-Pacific Partnership Agreement could be revived without the support of the American administration. While not criticising President Donald Trump directly, Mr Turnbull stated clearly the difference between Australia and New Zealand's policy on trade and that of America.
People can be persuaded, in some cases, that the answer is to throw up walls and to, stop trade, increase trading barriers to trade. My view, and I know Bill's position too, is that is absolutely the wrong thing to do. Free trade, more trade means more jobs, means more growth.
Earlier in the day, the two Prime Ministers laid wreath at Airtown Cenotaph. Mina Amso, The South Today.
A young Queenstown woman who left Wakatipu High School at the end of last year has been awarded a National Photography Scholarship. Meg Jolly won the scholarship for her photography portfolio portraying women through a different lens. Mina Amso reports.
Meg Jolly's focus on her camera has paid off. The former Wakatipu High School students gained the top score among 3,000 or more entries in the nationwide scholarship pool.
I did not think that I was going to get top scholar or like a perfect score. It was just amazing.
Jolly's come with a message.
Just like how strong women are. And this panel kind of talks about women through history. And so this is like homemaking and like the ideals of like women in society. And then this one's kind of like rebellion and showing the strength, and this is like body image and female bodies. And this is kind of more about the things that women have, like periods and masturbation and stuff like that, that's so real that women have, but no one really talks about it. So this is kind of like bringing to life that, all of this. And then this section I tried to make it into like, I thought about the ideals of like Adam and Eve, and like the whole idea about Adam and Eve is like Eve was just formed off Adam.
Hello, Mina, I'm so in Queenstown. Now, while Meg did really win the top score and so good, what she really hopes is that her work in photography inspires and empowers people, and especially women from all walks of life. Jolly's portfolio took a year to compile, with help from her photography teacher, Abby Brown.
I've supported her in the background, definitely. She's totally had control over this panel and worked through a lot of ideas and research as well.
And her success has been greeted with pride by the school.
A student from here has been able to be so successful and to kind of achieve something so remarkable and follow their area of passion. It's a fantastic thing.
Jolly will head to Wellington on Saturday to start her studies in communications at Massey University. Mina Amso, The South Today.
Our Riverton Museum is benefiting from poker machine proceeds. Te Hikoi Southern Journey has received around $70,000 over the last 4 years, and now it's looking to expand its exhibits.
Pokie proceeds are helping keep this popular little museum on the Southern Scenic Route functioning. Hi, I'm Ruby Spink in Riverton, outside Te Hikoi.
Te Hikoi means the journey, so Te Hikoi Southern Journey is our specific journey, and we tell the unique story to New Zealand of Maori and Pākehā. This is the first area in New Zealand where they co-joined, and that's because the sealers and whalers came.
The museum tracks the history of Riverton and wider Southland through the whalers and Māori before Te Tiriti o Waitangi was signed, through the Gold Rush, World War I and beyond. But Te Hikoi doesn't get any government funding. To survive, the museum charges admission fees, gets some funding from local government, and also pokie proceeds from Southern Victoria Charitable Trust.
So from the pokie machines at the carriers and the funding we get, we're able to use that to create new exhibitions that we could not do without this money. We do not have money ourselves to do exhibitions or new displays. And the second thing they do is help us with operational funding.
In the last 4 years, Te Hikoi Southern Journey Museum has received $70,000 from the Charitable Trust. Manager Carol Power says activities and exhibits paid for with this funding have brought many people into Riverton, and the community benefits from the 22,500 annual visitors.
The worth and value of Te Hikoi is we bring in tourists and they stop to come in here. It's benefiting people with accommodation, retail, petrol, supermarket.
The museum has recently featured in the Department of Internal Affairs Pokie Proceeds Building Strong Communities to highlight the benefits of gaming legislation in local communities. I'm Ruby Spink for The South Today.
A new crop of Southland businesses are preparing to go through a course that boasts productivity improvements of at least 25%. The Venture Southland-led Lean Management and Manufacturing program is about to kick off for 2017, and participants are keen to get started.
Southland businesses looking to trim the fat from their operations, but not the staff, are in luck. Venture Southland is leading a program called Lean for the 7th year running.
Lean is a management program that we put businesses through, so it's a 6-month training period, and it's mapping at the start of your business all the way through the finish, and it's identifying wastes. So when your business is really small and there's only 2 people, you're in constant communication, everything's really clear, and as your business starts to grow, that's when the waste creep in. So that's not having the right bit of information, not being able to find a tool, being told the wrong bit of information, and so it's not changing one big thing, and it's not changing the technical stuff that a business does really well. It's looking for all the little things and adding them up to a huge saving.
Since 2011, 28 businesses have gone through the program, including Quality Foods, Balanced Nutrients and Fiberglass Innovations. One of the groups starting in March is the McCullum's Group.
Lean is a key function to us, is how we look at our business, looking at it, not in it. So therefore, we know that we can improve how we do our linen processes because we're touching and moving product quite significantly through a plant but I'm sure with input from staff and looking on how we do things, I'm sure with some suggestions and some smart operations, we can certainly reduce those touch points.
Rachel Butler says businesses experience at least a 25% increase in productivity after completing the course, including Avon Engineering, which doubled the number of jet boats they're making per week. Mr Harrington says he hopes to see a similar result for McCullum's.
It's certainly going to be a process that's going to take over time. So we're not expecting to achieve those milestones within the first week, 6 months or a year. Lean manufacturing, in our view, and in talking to our key customers, is an ongoing process. So as they say, it's a journey that we're going to be entering into.
He says watching clients improving through the program has pushed him to take part. I'm Ruby Spink for The South Today.
A Southland man is leading a program to teach children how to deal with pests humanely. His course includes information on trapping equipment and techniques for survival in our native forests. And he's looking for support from the community to extend his reach.
Possums, rats, stoats and feral cats. We know they wreak havoc in our native bush. Hi, I'm Ruby Spink in Ototo, where a local man is teaching kids how to humanely dispose of pests.
10 traps for a child, which is an average about $100 a year that's cost for the traps, everything they need to do it, and us educators to educate them along the way, plus find them blocks if they don't already have their own farm blocks to trap.
The program relies on people sponsoring children to take part, to pay for the equipment, and the 3 educators who volunteer their time to teaching the skills required. Shane Wilson says he's hoping businesses and people in the community will provide support for this important project. The Regional Council says possums and other pests are widespread in Southland, and they're happy to help projects aimed at tackling this issue.
Yeah, Environment Southland is supportive of community groups when they want to set up for pest control. We support them in a number of ways. We can provide best practice advice and information. We can help with the training of how to do pest control. We can also point them in the right direction in terms of where they could go for funding, for other advice and information, and generally just make sure that they're on the right track and the group's going to be very successful.
Shane Wilson's been working on the program for 2 months, but only in the last 2 weeks has he been training the child he sponsors how to humanely trap and kill pests. This is a passion project for Wilson, who doesn't want the use of 1080 poison to become widespread in his own backyard. And he says after only 2 weeks, the results from the child he's been instructing are encouraging.
With his first 5 traps, he set out and then he got 2 possums, and he was absolutely over the moon.
Wilson says the most important skill he's teaching is how to look after and enjoy our environment. I'm Ruby Spink for The South Today.
After the break on Southern Newsweek, the Octagon was alive with the sound of bagpipes recently. And an Oamaru athlete smashes a record at the annual Wanaka Challenge Triathlon. Welcome back. The Waitaki District Council voted to begin trials of keeping cars off Harbour Street on weekends at its February 15 meeting. To celebrate, some of the town's colourful characters are planning a party. Oamaru artist and Harbour Street tenant Donna De Monte says the trial Harbour Street pedestrianisation is a positive move for the town.
Oh, I think it's a small step, but it's definitely in the right direction. It's something I think will benefit the place in heaps of ways, to have it just the opportunity for people to relax and enjoy the place rather than worry about traffic. And just aesthetically, to me, it's a no-brainer that you have these beautiful architectural facades and you really want to preserve that integrity of the feeling of them, so it doesn't look just completely out of place. So yeah, cars aren't really the right visual attractive thing to have here.
She's behind the Victorians in the Precinct, Artisans and Eccentrics project. The first weekend of pedestrian-only traffic on Oamaru's Harbour Street featured a pop-up lunch. The record for the annual Wanaka Challenge Triathlon was smashed recently by Oamaru athlete Dougal Allen. Allen won for the 2nd consecutive year and set a new course record. His time of 8 hours, 26 minutes and 38 seconds was almost 8 minutes better than the previous record set in 2010.
Challenge Wanaka 2017, beautiful day, spectators loved it, I'm sure the athletes enjoyed it. I can't say I enjoyed it all, but I enjoyed most of it, and it was really, really tough out there, and I'm just really pleased to have the reward of winning the race, because you know everyone has to put up with some pretty uncomfortable moments out there, and winning it just makes it all the more bearable.
The event began with a chilly swim in Lake Wanaka, but as the day progressed, the temperature rose into the high 20s. The women's event was won for the second time by Yvonne van Vleuten of the Netherlands. And finally, the Octagon rang out with the sound of bagpipes over the weekend for an event that's been run for the last 20 years. 8 pipe bands were performing in the annual contest, giving locals and tourists a taste of the well-known wind instrument.
They were bringing the bands to the people. Octagon Day is a chance for Royal New Zealand pipe bands from Christchurch to Invercargill to get together for some healthy competition.
And it's partly preparation for the nationals, for the senior competing bands. It's a build-up to the national competitions in Nelson in about 3 weeks' time.
The event used to open Dunedin's Festival Week and was Otago and Southland's provincial contest, running for more than 60 years. This event's been running for 20 years, and despite strong winds, the standard of competition was high. For those taking part and watching, it was a truly Scottish spectacle.
No, we're on holiday. Our grandsons are actually in one of the Canterbury South, is it the Canterbury South Pipe Band?
Yeah, it was a bit different, so you know, it's good fun coming to the competitions and stuff.
Yep, it's not part of the band or anything, it's just here to enjoy it. We've just arrived, but pretty impressive so far.
Some grades only had one band taking part, but organisers say it didn't detract from the level of performance. D. Karen, The South Today.
And that's all for this edition of Southern Newsweek. Be sure to check us out on Facebook, YouTube and Twitter, or you can keep up with Southern News via our website, channel39.co.nz. I'm Holly Buchanan. Thanks for watching.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.